Anyone that doesn't know, and I'm actually not going to be. I, I've talked about this stuff a lot, where I don't want to be the resource that you guys come to when it comes to drama. In fact, I do not want to be associated with any of it. I don't want my opinions on what's going on out there. Know that for people that have been victimized in situations, my condolences and wishes are completely with the people that have had shit happen to them in any situation, because I have lived a life where I've been around people that have been on the receiving end of shit like that, you know, throughout my life. And I've been a person that has had to fortunately not be on the receiving end of all the bullshit that's going on right now throughout my life. But I have been around friends and, you know, family and others that have gone through shit like this, and to know what they're going through and to sympathize with them. So I did put out a tweet earlier today. And the thing I hate about Twitter is that Twitter can make it seem very selfish. You got to realize that Twitter is something that the platform is not designed for this shit, but it is the platform of information now. It can make it seem like what I was talking about was selfish in regards to what's going on with EVO. And like I said, I'm not a person that likes to comment on drama. And I will absolutely back off in any other situation. This is a bit different because EVO is not just a tournament that I've, you know, enjoyed going to for about 14 years now. It's not just this cool event that all my friends go to. This is something that I have actively participated in and have been responsible for a portion of its growth over the past 7+ years at least. For at least 5, 6 years or so, I was absolutely a passive enthusiast where I was just attending EVO, being a competitor, you know, taking Jessica there and my friends and just being a part of the biggest tournament in the world. But for the past 6, 7 years, as a person that has a reach that goes beyond just more than my friends anymore, that goes beyond just more than what I'm personally responsible for, I've encouraged and tried to make people go to this event to make it bigger, to make it more important, to make it to make fighting games something bigger, just in general. Like I said, there's a lot of other stuff going on right now between what's going on with streamers and what's going on with Smash and its community. I just don't have any connection or personal investment in it, so I don't feel like it's my place to provide opinion or any of my intellect, because I just don't have any of it. However, when it comes to what's going on today with EVO, I do. I mean, I've been once a year, I work alongside a lot of these people that are the direct organizers and the countless amount of people that put on this show every single year, that put on this worldwide event. This one hits a bit different, and I feel like I'm a little bit more responsible in terms of what's going on towards the future and my thoughts of it. And even though I wasn't even going this year, right? Like EVO this year was technically canceled, right? Because of COVID, obviously. Online EVO was the return of Killer Instinct. And I had already plans with the organizers of the event, and I hadn't even announced it, to commentate Killer Instinct Finals, which I was really looking forward to. I know I was probably going to be commentating alongside Sajam, and Steve I had never commentated KI Finals with Steve. Every single year I did it. I think he was really looking forward to it as well. But just not like this, you know? Just not with any of these situations, like any happiness that could come to us. Like, I feel like we're responsible for the people watching or the people that are following what I do to understand. And I'm in a very weird situation where, because I'm sort of responsible in a way for EVO and the people that go to it, and even the changes that are maybe coming from this point forward, or the changes that are happening, I'm really trying to be very specific with what I'm saying, because I don't want it to get construed of what EVO is. And long story short, for a long time, EVO was run by an administration of only about a few people between the Cannons, which is Tom and Tony, and these guys you might recognize. They're making the League of Legends fighting game, also responsible for GGPO, and Joey, who's been the larger tournament organizer for the majority for quite a few years now. I've talked to these guys like once a year and in passing, and I've been to like all the big EVO areas, all the top, what's it called, like privileges you can possibly have at EVO that I usually pass on, except going up to, you know, the box booths during the finals and communicating and talking to all the creators like Harada and creators of Guilty Gear and talking with those guys and seeing them. And it's amazing, right? It's everything I wanted, just to communicate to them what we love about their fighting games and, you know, the people that are directly responsible for the creation of this stuff, because that's all EVO is. It's a big Merry Christmas celebration of fighting games in one spot. Long story short, Joey was revealed through not just one person's account. And this is the reason I made the tweet as I did, before everyone was like, oh, well, are we not holding this person accountable through like evidence? Are you making assumptions? Do we let the investigation keep going? I was getting a lot of people immediately assuming that we should give this guy a chance because this could be bullshit. However, I had spent the last entire day looking up and trying my best to understand what exactly was going on behind the scenes, to find that it's not just one person. These are multiple accounts. This is a thing that many people have known things about for a while. In an arcade scene that I was not a part of, so I don't know anything about this. The accounts of it happening are from like 20 years ago that include people that are underage and a ton of, I don't want to talk about it. Long story short, one of the organizers of EVO, one of the guys that's like in charge, is directly responsible for that. And the problem I have is that, and he came out and later admitted it, right? He actually said and apologized for it and had an apology, that he's been changing over 20 years. The problem with that is that until you're held accountable, it's hard to imagine someone changing, you know? Until like you're directly in the line of responsibility for a situation, like you don't know what people are still doing for however much time. The thing that really starts to hit me personally hard is when I start to think of the things that I did for EVO as an organization, for his personal financial gain towards these events over the past like 7 years, as we've hosted the biggest panels that EVO's had all these years. We had the biggest panels at EVO. We had so many people in those rooms packing it to the brim that we had to kick people out. I've had thousands, like literally, I wish I was making up numbers, but I've literally had thousands of people at EVO come up to me and say, I would never be into fighting games if it wasn't for you. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. This is so incredibly cool. I'm so glad you exposed me to this. And my stupid brain starts tying the knot that me introducing all these people is essentially filling the pockets of somebody that is abusive potentially towards its community, or has been abusive towards its community. It's a weird thing that I have to sort of juggle. I know it's not on me. I know it's not on me. I don't want to make this about me. This is just the way my stupid brain works, right? And I've actually found personally other ways to sort of describe it as I'm trying to like rationalize what's going on in my head. EVO isn't about one individual, right? EVO will change. It's going to happen, right? It's going to be run by different people. The change has already actually taken place. I've already spoken to the people that are responsible for EVO. Change has already taken place because Joey, Mr. Wizard, is no longer technically running the show. It's the situation, chat, where I've talked about it for years, where a lot of these like charitable organizations I've had issues with contributing money to, because sometimes you do not know where the money is going. Sometimes you don't know if it's lining the pockets, if it's actually going to the specific aid, how much of it is going to aid, and things like that. And it takes quite a bit of research to figure out if charitable organizations are doing the right thing with your money. Because I've had issues in the past with that. Direct issues with like my family going towards and putting things towards these organizations and finding out they're doing something completely different with it. Which is why usually when it came to charities or fundraisers or anything of the like, I do it for individuals because you know that person. You can see that person. You can see the distress that has affected themselves, their family, the situation they're in, and you have the ability to make an impact with that person. And that's usually why in the past when we've done charitable events for like FGC stuff, I kind of prefer doing it for individuals and moments of need. This sort of ties into this situation because it feels like throughout this situation, throughout these years, I'm like sort of second guessing myself. Were we unknowingly sort of allowing this person to continue this behavior? I don't know. I'm not going to accuse these people of doing these things or not, of what accounts haven't happened. All we have accounts is that what did happen before. But I don't know. Like, that's the thing. I don't know. All I can say is that my biggest sympathies right now are absolutely towards the people that are on the receiving end of abuse, and also the people that are on the receiving end at EVO. The people that are at EVO that work their ass off every single year to put on a show, to put on an event like this. While there is one person that is essentially signing the checks and making the deals, there is countless hundreds upon hundreds of people that are working their ass off every single EVO to make the show great for people that are there. And I was fucking one of them. I've had to sacrifice my need to be a competitor for greater length of making that experience better for others by offering things to happen at EVO. For anyone that's immediately like, I know I'm already going to get a lot of people talking where it's like, well, I was paid to do that shit. Motherfuckers, I never got paid to do any of this stuff. The only time I've ever been paid for EVO was to do commentary. When it came to hosting the events at EVO, like the official events, we were actually a part of the official panel listing for doing meet and greets and signings and all this stuff. I never fucking asked for compensation for any of this stuff. I only did it because people would give us space to do it. So I felt like that was enough. Every single year I go to EVO, it costs me about $5,000 to $10,000 because we make a bunch of stuff that we never usually sell at EVO. I think last year or the year before we sold Benny plushies, and that was about it because I had a lot of Benny plushies. But the previous year I decided not to sell them. We just gave them away. EVO is largely very expensive for me, but to me it was always worth it because they were essentially giving me the venue, right? They were allowing me to be there for our audience, for anyone that wanted to see us or talk to us. They were giving us a platform. Yeah. And EVO's always a stressful time of year because we have to get all that shit ready and it's fucking tough. But really when it boils down, like I've been in the trenches of EVO trying to get shit done most of those days, and the only day I have off is finals day, and I just go to the top of the stadium and just hide in the darkness with my friends and just watch everything. I really sympathize with the people that work their ass off. The people that run the booths, the people that are behind the scenes, guys like Spooky, guys like the Tenno crew, all those dudes. It's a funny thing when I talk about going to EVO, those are the guys I like hanging out with the most. It's not the players. It's actually not the top competitors, even though I like seeing those guys and saying hi to them and having Daigo fucking walk up to me and recognize who I am. Or Tokido, like that blows my mind, considering these were the people that got me into competitive fighting games back in the early 2000s. That's incredible. But funny enough, like those aren't the people that I usually like hanging out with. I like hanging out with the people that make the fighting games, whether it's the creators of Street Fighter 2 or the guys that are developing, King of Fighters or any of those guys, and just celebrating the games that they've made over the years, or hanging out with the crew behind the scenes. Like those are the moments that I find really valuable, is hanging out with the people that actually make EVO, people that create shit every single year to make this stuff happen. And I feel really bad for them right now. Like I do. Hanzo Gonzo and Seg and all those guys, like I can only imagine what the fuck they're going through right now. Yeah, Markman too. So the good news is at As a result of all of this, things are already changing. Positions have flipped. Wizard's not the CEO of EVO anymore. This will happen within like 12 hours. He's not the head of EVO anymore. In fact, it's actually flipped to either, was it Tom or Tony? It was Tony. This is good. The fact that things changed as fast as they did, this came as like a precursor. Like, all the commentators were gone. All the people that were hosting demonstrations or exhibitions or anything like that all pulled out. Everybody pulled out. And then Capcom pulled out, and then Mortal Kombat pulled out, and then Fighting Herds pulled out, and then eventually it seemed like, Skullgirls and most likely Killer Instinct were also going to pull out as well. Bandai Namco pulled out, so Tekken's out in any way. And before even those other companies could, EVO pretty much announced we're canceled. This is it, and we're making significant changes. EVO is responsible for like some of the most incredible moments of my life. Like, we're talking about an event where I have actively dreamed of being on like the stage, or was like a big goal of mine for a hell of a long time, of being on stage and, being a top competitor like many people. I got my wish in the form of a Canon Award, which was honestly one of the craziest moments of my entire life. All I can say is that this is good. I'm happy that they're doing this, but I do think that EVO needs a rebranding in some way. I do think EVO needs to be restructured away from anything that sort of had before. This is a change that happened really fast, and I know it's not going to be easy, because the things that went behind the scenes, like to actually make EVO happen, was at the responsibility of the person that was causing issues in the past. But I've spoken many times more. I've spoken more times to Tom and Tony than I have Joey in the past. Tom and Tony feel like they genuinely give a shit. They care about the community. They want to support it. The guys made fucking rollback netcode, for crying out loud, or the implementation of rollback netcode in fighting games. Yeah, so I mean, I'd like to say I trust what they're doing going forward, but there needs to be like a restructuring, especially after all the stories of what has happened at EVO in other communities that I don't even want to talk about, because I don't want to. I mean, it's good to talk about it, but it's not my place to talk about it. There's a lot of bullshit. There's a lot of weird abuse and harassment and stuff of the like. It's speculative. No, all these things are coming from accounts that I know, and a lot of those accounts have come forward. It's hard. This is hard to shitty situation. The thing is, it's necessary, right? We're talking like it's a super shitty situation, but this is absolutely necessary. These things need to happen. What a shitty, necessary fucking day. It's been tough. All I can say, chat, and I'm gonna mention this as well, just because it's a thing that I've been sort of preaching for a long time. The FGC is much bigger than top players. Your fighting game community, or the community of people that have grown to love the same thing around you for years, or if you're cultivating rivalries or friendships through fighting games, goes a lot deeper than the stream numbers you see during a top 8, or how well someone's performing. Usually the judgment of character in the fighting game community is based on how good you'll be doing in a 1st to 10. And it's been that way for a very long time. How much do you actually win? Have you made it to top 8? Who are you to do something unless you're actually good at the game? And I think that judgment of character is extremely fucked up. And I saw somebody else in a different community talking about what's going on. But when it boils down, the people that are representing their game or their region for top 8 is absolutely the focus of the attention when it comes to these big events. They're the ones on screen, so you think that they're the most important. But I'm telling you, it's definitely not the case. The thing that's the most important when it comes to EVO, the thing that's the most important when it comes to fighting game community events, is the audience watching. How many people are invested live? How many people are invested at home to potentially go to these events? The individual communities themselves are what's important. I'm not trying to take away attention from the fact that, weird shit has happened at EVO, or that people are illegitimized for what happened to EVO. I'm not trying to say that. All I'm saying is that if you're feeling like shit right now, as a viewer or an outsider or somebody that has a community of people that, you go to EVO, or you're feeling bad that you went to EVO, All I can say is that the celebration of those things that seem like they're important isn't really what's important. It's not. The things that are important are the people that you meet at your community, the people that you know and you trust, the people that are nice to you, the people that are nice to others, right? The celebration of what you guys love. This shit is literally the whole point of my stream. It was the whole reason I started streaming, was that I wanted to emulate the arcade environment, video games especially. I wanted to emulate the arcade environment at home so that people on the receiving end that are watching can feel like what it feels like to come to one spot every single week and have their own fighting game community. And that was the thing that I always wanted, right? Whether it's video games or those bunch of buddies that you met every single week or 2 weeks, in high school or college, a crew of people that you just frequently liked going back and you knew that they would be there and you're seeing them. That's the feeling. That is fucking fighting game community. It is. Because you're all surrounding around the game you love to play, are sharing information about that game, the reasons why you love it, and you're celebrating that constantly. And that's the goal of my stream. And that's going to be the goal moving forward. Whether or not EVO gets rebranded or turned into something else, I would like to say that if EVO makes changes in the future to rebrand themselves and disassociate the organization as much as possible from what it was before, and actually make something for change, like try their best for change, then I'll be happy to be a part of that. An organization that wants to share the things we love about each other instead of all the fucked up shit that's going on right now. And to be honest, chat, I have largely disassociated myself from the larger fighting game community for like 4 years now, for quite a while, and I've had to, and it's been one of the hardest things that I've had to do ever. But I've had to watch things from the outside and have very minimal participation. So we try to create our own community. The whole point is that I'm completely willing and ready for people to be exposed to fighting games through my streams or YouTube videos, and I'll be glad to support whatever the heck comes from EVO in the future if they are going about the change that they're talking about. Because I trust the canons. I do. They genuinely seem like good people, and they are interested in the well-being of the community. So, yeah.